Hi, guys, and thanks for joining for us another episode of the Sorted Indie Retail Sessions podcast. My name is Pete Lyden. I'm a product marketing specialist here at Sorted, and I've previously owned two e-commerce and physical businesses in the retail space. I've been in menswear and I've been in homeware, and today I'm delighted to take our podcast international and speak with Catherine Hager, who's the co-founder and creative director of Ramble and Company. It's a wonderful business, makes lots of made in USA products, has stance about the value of all human life and female empowerment, and everything they do is unique and really excited to see how they get on, and how we can gain some insight from Catherine today. So first of all, thanks very much for joining us and taking the time, Catherine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pete.
Perfect. And before we get started, would you be able to just give us a little bit of insight into what you do on a daily basis, and if you can, just a brief summary of how you've got here and what Rambling Company started as and what it's become today.
Yes, absolutely. So Rainbow and Company is a screen printing company. We design and print our own small batch tees. I primarily our demographic is female women, and inspirational tees. So my big why of what we do is we want to serve people really well and help them find joy and encouragement in very mundane moments throughout the day. I love to have fun. I love to also work, which I know not everyone does, but I, yeah, I love creative outlets. I like designing. I like photography. And so through the years, our company started as just primarily a screen printing company. I did web design, I designed stationery, and I did photography. That was in 2015 when I left my full time job to go be an entrepreneur. And then in 2017, I realized that the scalable part of all three of those things was screen printing. So I started to primarily focus on screen printing only, and I only do photography and graphic design for Ramble and Company. I'm not for hire any longer. And that is when I started to see changes because I was not doing so many little things with my time. I was focusing and through the years, we've kind of found our niche in graphic tee apparel. We've expanded a little bit in manufacturing, but our bread and butter and what we do most is screen printing graphic tees. So we have a location in Wichita Falls, Texas, and we're opening our second location in Waco, Texas in a couple of weeks. So we should be open in September, October for sure. And yeah, so I grew up on a farm. And so I think that's where I found a love for entrepreneurship and working and continued that. That's what I do. So day to day, it's changed over the years from what I have focused on, but I'm primarily our creative director, like you said. I'm the brand strategist. So whenever it comes to what phrases we focus on, what I want our tees to look like. I'm in charge of all that, and I'm back to screen printing. So I print all of our tees with one other employee, and we just take our time and have a strong attention to detail on our shirts. So
Amazing. No, that's fantastic. And I had a look at your website before, and I need to ask you afterwards where I can get one of those taco tees from. I think they're absolutely fantastic. They're great. They just represent everything I think you guys are good at. It's just great personality, but beautiful design as well. So has that been a winner for you, that design?
yes, it has.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's great.
I mean, it goes with maybe it goes without saying. We love tacos, and we joke when we have really hard days here. Um, we go to the nearby taco truck, and it just makes everything better. So our customers are really who push for that shirt. I never envisioned that I was going to print a taco shirt, but they ask. I did it. They're selling. We're winning. So that's kind of where we are now.
Perfect. I think that leads us really well onto something that I picked up in an interview that you made. I think it's a fantastic statement you made about how you're not the hero of your brand, your customer is,
Yeah.
and I think that's a fantastic statement from my background of running, being an entrepreneur, running retailers, and understanding that actually it doesn't really matter that much about your own opinion if it doesn't sell, and if it doesn't build into something that people can belong with and align with, then you're only one person at the end of the day, and actually it's your community that's really important. And I just love for you to explain what you mean by that, so that the listeners can really understand how important that is to a business, if that makes sense.
Yes. So I'll give credit to Donald Miller. He wrote a book called Story Brand, and he is who says this. So if I'm going to plug that resource for everyone. If you have not read Story Brand, please go. They have podcasts, they have books, they have a website. And what he explains is you are not the hero of your brand. Your customer is. You are the guide that leads them to success. And that was a light bulb moment for me. And I think for a lot of business owners, when you're trying to create content and you're trying to write posts and you're trying to write copy for your website, you're trying to design apparel or whatever you do, the end goal should be for your customer. What my goal for our apparel is for our customers to feel good and succeed every single day. And it helps me figure out, that statement helps me figure out as a guide, what am I doing with my designs, my apparel, the quality of my shirts, the material, my messaging should only lead them to success. They should, which means for us to be served well, seen, heard, supported, inspired, having fun. I mean, we are very inspirational, but we love to have fun at our company. So that statement means whatever you're doing, you should be doing for your customer, because there's one who's are spending money and actually supporting you. But yeah, I think that was the shift for us, is that the end all is us being a guide for our customers to be the hero and the hero of their own lives. So if you do jewelry, you are making products that make the end consumer feel good. So whenever you're designing it, I think there's a level of designing for your own need, your own brand aesthetic, but it can't be only what you like. So if I only design shirts that appeal to me, they might appeal to another small audience, but I'm not getting like the most of what I could achieve through that specific product. So when I design, we really do think about the end consumer most before only it's my designs and ideas, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, there's only so many of each of us in the world, aren't they? And our personas and, and what have you, and our brackets. So it's really important that we hit a wider audience, I think, when we're doing what we're doing. And you mentioned previously about having stores and obviously it's fantastic that you've still got bricks and mortar in what you're doing. Do you have them standalone, or do you do any of the functionality of your e-commerce business or your wholesale business from the stores, or do you very much keep them separate in your entities, if you know what I mean?
So, interesting question, because we primarily started with a retail store. Well, we started screen printing out of our garage, and then I realized I needed to start selling products in person for me to grow. And so we got our first retail location in 2017, and I was still screen printing out of my garage. It was super stressful because I was splitting my time as being the only store worker and the only screen printer. So I was only open in our brick and mortar 3 days a week, and I screen printed 2 days a week. Fast forward a few years, we bought a building in downtown Wichita Falls in 2017, and we moved all entities under one roof. And so that meant our online inventory was in a like literally a very small closet, because that part of our business was so small. We had a huge retail location and a pretty small screen printing shop. After 3 years, so in 2020, we outgrew our print shop and our inventory space, but our retail store was really big, and it got to where our retail space for foot traffic needed to decrease, but because of the layout, it didn't work. We purchased another building in 2020, because 2020 for COVID for us, our business tripled because of how many people were shopping online. So we found another space that became our online shipping and inventory management space in our print shop. And so after 2 years now, we're moving everything back under one roof. And we call ourselves the queens of pivoting because, in 2020, we saw the need for more space. And now I see the need that I can readjust our space back into where it's all under one roof. Because we have 4 employees here in Wichita Falls, and we have 2 in Waco. And what I'm realizing, it's too hard for our team to be efficient and productive if we're in split locations. So we are putting everything back under one roof. So it'll be retail, print shop, inventory, and offices. This month, actually, we should be moving any day now. So
Perfect. And bringing those two previous points together, obviously, you say, guys, you're all about fun and balance and creating good, ethic. But there's only four of you, and you've got so many things going on. How do you try and create that balance? Because it's difficult, isn't it? And is there anything that you do or you'd recommend to other founders and owners to say, look, you need to do this or do that, or take a step back every so often, or is there anything that you'd recommend to try and get that culture in your business right?
Yeah. So I think being as authentic to my personality as I can. I've read a lot of leadership books. I listen to podcasts. But at the end of the day, I want our culture here at work to not necessarily reflect my personality, but I want there to be us to feel like a family because we spend a lot of time together, unfortunately. The hardest part is really trying to stay focused to where it's not all fun and it has to be efficient and we all have to work. The best thing, going back to pivoting, over the years, there's out of the 3 employees that I have, so there's 3 plus me, roles have changed. So when I see a need, I tell our employees, do not get stuck to your title and the role you were hired for. The end goal is to serve our customer. And so I am very open that if I see a need and a shift in what someone's job daily tasks are, I'm going to ask them to do it because at the end of the day, what we're here to do is serve our customers. And so if I ask you to shift, it's only to serve our customers better. And over the years, yeah, I would say multiple of our employees have had to shift, and then they end up liking it more because they're doing more of what they're good at. Because it takes a little bit for an employer to figure out what your employees' strengths and weaknesses are, personality types. For example, one of our screen printers, the girl who helps me, I started her as a store associate, and she really does not like people. It kind of was.
Bit of an issue.
I was like, you're supposed to go up and talk to them, be hospitable, serve. And it was so against her quiet, very deep thinking personality. And so I shifted her into a role where she doesn't really have to be around people. She manages our shipping, she screen prints, she she does a lot. Those are the big things. But none of those things require her to have like customer interaction. So yeah, my advice is to be very open with really looking at the person, the employee, to what they're doing and be okay with shifting them. Because if you're able, I know that's not easy for everyone to do, but it made me hire better when we did hire our store associate. Because I learned from that first scenario, I then hired someone who had a very bubbly, outgoing personality versus someone who is really quiet. So I think always being very aware of your staff and their needs, boundaries, them as a person versus just looking at them as a spot to fill in your company. Because if that's what it is, the culture won't be there.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all guilty of putting someone in a box and what their role is in whatever they do, whether that's personally or at work. And I think actually finding the right people and then finding their right place is a much better methodology. And as you said, it improves future hires then because you know the exact characteristics that you need for the person that now is going to have that role that they no longer fulfill, if you know what I mean. So I think that's really, really useful. And how much of your revenue, I guess, or sales is D2C and single items, and how much do you do on a bulk basis? Because you screen print, so you'll be doing the same design over and over again. I presume you have corporate orders or charity orders and things like that. And the reason why I asked that is, does that have any constraints in regards to your shipping in terms of do you have to get special rates or anything on big volume weights? With that, if that makes sense.
Okay. So over the years, we've changed. I started in 2018 doing wholesale. So as an apparel graphic tee company, when I really wanted to scale and grow outside of just our small local market, I started wholesaling our apparel, which meant we were sending our graphic tees, our designs to other retail shops. We were in 6 months, we were in 250 stores in the US.
Really?
And to be really honest, we lost money that year because I spent so much on inventory. I did not figure out my margins. So it looked really good on paper. Like I was in 250 stores. But at the end of the year, I was like, what happened? Like I did not revenue what I figured I would. Net, my gross looked really good, but my net was not very good. So in 2019, I did away with wholesale and really focused on my one-on-one retail. I focused on retail versus my business to consumer products versus business to business. And we, in 2019 and 2020, we did no wholesale. So I revoked, I pretty much said I would not stock any of those 250 stores. And we focused on selling e-commerce. And so the rates and how we were doing it varied. At first, I needed a big FedEx account to ship these big wholesale orders. We kind of shifted that when we went to business to consumer sales, and I started buying a lot more bulk small packages with Uline. And then we really just ship USPS. I was doing FedEx, but their rates it was making our consumer pay too much. Businesses can afford FedEx, but the consumer, like on a one-on-one level, the individual level, they were having a hard time paying the $8 to $10 FedEx shipping. So that was really feedback that our customers were giving us was, I want to buy that shirt, but to add $10 seems like a lot. So we went with we have found for us that going USPS, which is like $5 to $6, we're selling more because that shipping rate is better. Even though it might take them longer to get that product to get there, most people prefer the cheaper shipping. So yeah, I think that what I try to do and have learned is buying in bulk, your poly bags, anything you're shipping on a daily or weekly basis needs to be bought to where you have it for a quarter. That's kind of my rule of thumb is I don't want to be ordering every month. We should not be ordering supplies every month. We should be either buying it quarterly or biannually. Only because usually with those companies, you're paying shipping to get that heavy product to you. So it just reduces our cost when we don't have to spend so much. And that's an extra step for our employees. So when it comes to like productivity, if I'm having them check every week and every month, they're spending too much time on that where they could be doing other tasks.
Yeah, definitely. I think that opportunity cost is massive in terms of the checking, but also the processing of it when it comes in, and and make sure it's all in the right place in the warehouse or the workshop or what have you. It's really important to get it right. And as you say, you reduce your unit costs anyway, and if you can cash flow it, then it's an absolute no-brainer to do it that way because it just reduces everything down. I think a lot of business owners don't truly value the time that things take, and the cost that you're paying out, or for yourself as well, like the lack of balance that you then have because you're doing all these admin tasks all the time. So I think it's a really, really good point that it's not just the cost saving, it's also the time saving and the admin saving that you're getting there. And it's something that I think should be learned from the start, because I don't know if you found it over your journey, but when I was doing what I was doing, it takes time and it takes mistakes to realize the issues that you're causing.
Say all of my wins have come from failures, from saying that did not work. don't do that. So our website is on Shopify, and I recommend it for any online business, and it's been very good for our POS systems because I'm able to manage inventory from 2 locations and sell online. So it's a little bit expensive, but the capabilities that it offers for if you ever want to go into e-commerce, it's there.
And do you guys ship internationally, or do you just ship within the States?
We ship internationally. Primarily, we have a couple customers in Greece and Australia and Canada, and they pay so much in shipping. I have noticed that with COVID, it was getting a lot harder for them to get their packages. The states were holding them. So we had a couple of ladies who their shirts were held for probably 3 months before Canada would release their goods to them. So I would say that's hard because it costs so much to get international orders to them. But we do allow it, and it is available on our website.
Perfect. And have you had any chat, that post COVID, have things calmed down, or is it just as bad in terms of the customs issues?
Well, those people quit ordering, so I do think that I don't know if it's a lot better, to be honest. I know that we've learned tricks. If you write gift on the packing slip, it gets cleared faster than if
Yeah,
it.
I know that one.
Oh, yeah, and they don't have to pay another fee if it was a gift. But when we're shipping really fast, it's hard for us to like look at the label and say, "Oh, this is Sarah needed us to write gift on that label." It's hard for us to manage that when we're shipping at a high volume.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a family. You're a mother of the three daughters, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah. So how do you balance that, and how would you try and put things into perspective? If you have a bad day at work or what have you, how do you try and be as good as you can be at home and prioritize things that are truly important? If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So it's changed again over the years. My kids now are 10, 8, and 5. So they're able to, all summer, they were out of school and they spent almost every day at the shop with us. So they have their own little play area. We have lots of creative activities, paint, kinetic sand, whatever. So now it's easy to entertain them at work and they're interested in what we're doing. When they were smaller, I had to have very good boundaries to leave work and go home and be more present with them. Now that they're back in school, if I do have a bad day, I think it's come with time. I know how to kind of shut off work brain and go home and be like mom brain, because I really look at their behavior. If they are acting out a lot and really grumpy, I think I am aware that they have missed me. I don't know how to say that any differently. I look at their mannerisms to know kind of what they need from me, and that helps me show up in a certain way. So if they're having a really bad day and they're really grumpy and they're fighting a lot, I realize that I need to have like immense one-on-one, like concentrated time with them versus trying to work on this on my computer and then trying to cook dinner and trying to be with them. I pretty much put down the phone and my computer, and I don't work when I'm at home with them. And that took time, and that's almost a luxury now. But if I do have to work, I work after they go to bed so that they don't see me working at work, like in our print shop and at home, because that's not what I want to teach them. When they get older, I don't want them they have to learn their boundaries on work-life balance. Because when we all die, I don't want to only be known for my work.
Yeah, of course. I think that it's that quality of time rather than quantity as well, isn't it? Being present, as you said, it's something that I found difficult when I was doing what I was doing as well. Yeah, it's really important to not just be in a room, but be in the room. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like, you're not just there because you're there. You're there because you're engaged with what's going on, and kids pick it up really easily, don't they? In terms of like, they're not foolish. They know exactly what's going on. So, one thing I wanted to ask actually was about how you use our sorted return solution and how big an issue returns are for you, and have you had any issues in regards to returns that you're working through or would like to solve? Is there anything there that would be something you'd like to improve, or has the solution helped you with manage your returns?
Returns are an ongoing, not nightmare, but they are hard because as a small business, if the consumer pays for the shipping, it's the shipping and it's the restock and it's the time frame and when people are able to return. Right now, our issue is people don't read the product description. So some of our shirts are sized differently. So they impulse buy it, they get it in, and they're like, it doesn't fit. It's like, did you read the product description? So it's trying to find that clarity in, do we stick to our word and say, we said no returns on this? Or do we hear the customer, make them the hero, and make the return? So I would say right now we're probably spending too much on returns. But we don't have a solution yet. We're like, this is a constant conversation that we have to revisit, is how much are we spending on returns and exchanges? And what's the boundary of hearing the customer and their needs and not being taken advantage of. So, yeah, I don't
Do
know.
you have a percentage figure at all that you have for return? You know, roughly what percentage of things do you think are getting returned at the moment?
It's under 5% for sure. It's not very high.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. That's great. And do you or your staff spend a lot of time reconditioning the product to make sure it's sellable again? Is that a big issue for the company, or in terms of like that it needs to be repackaged or that it needs to be repressed or anything like that?
Usually that 5%, the product was damaged. So maybe I got ink on the sleeve and we quality control didn't check it. And again, the same girl that's shipping is our quality control and she prints. So we're hyper aware of what's going out, but sometimes we get so in the emotions that we'll miss something. But if something is the wrong size, we say that you can't return it unless if it hasn't been worn. If we get it in, and I mean, yeah, you can smell it and say this person clearly wore this shirt. It goes straight to a warehouse bin. So we have a big warehouse sale every January. And if when in doubt, if there's any error in the product because they returned it, we put it in the warehouse. I don't even attempt to restock it and sell it again as retail, like as full price merchandise.
Yeah, perfect. Would we be able to wrap up the podcast just with some quick fire questions and just a little bit about your priorities and equally just a little bit about some nuggets for the listeners? Is that okay?
Yep, that's great.
Perfect. So at the moment at Ramble and Company, do you feel that customer loyalty or cheap customer acquisition is the priority? Are you trying to get a lot more new customers or do you feel like looking after the existing ones is probably the priority at the moment?
Looking after the current. Yeah, we serve our reoccurring customers very well.
Perfect. And has that changed at all over the years or has that always been the case?
I think I used to strive for always wanting new, more. But what I've learned is serve the ones you have really well and they'll keep coming back.
Perfect. And what's your favorite item that you currently sell within the business?
Oh gosh, probably the taco makes everything better tea. It's an oversized, very vintage feel tee, and I love it so much because I like to wear my shirts oversized. We also have a new armadillo ringer tee, and it has armadillos all over it, and it's so soft. So those two would be my favorite. Their styles are totally different, um, but I love them both for different reasons.
Amazing. Yeah, well, I'm agreed, so that's great. And do you obviously you do a lot of prints, so do you always work in the office or do you ever work from home in terms of obviously you say it late at night you work at home, but do you ever have days that you work from home and do you prefer working from home or the office? Is there any
Mm.
preference for you?
I work from home 1 day a week right now so that I can have like focus time and so employees are not distracting me. It's employees, customers. It's very distracting at work. So if I'm screen printing, obviously I have to come to the shop, but I need that 1 day a week at home to just really like get it done. I can get so much work done if I'm by myself. So I do definitely work from home 1 day a week, and it's during the working day, not at night. It's I take the kids to school and then I work for 7 hours while they're gone.
Perfect.
It's
And
wonderful.
I wanted to ask just obviously because you guys are based in Texas, is there anywhere in Texas you'd recommend to visit? I see that you guys have your own Airbnb as well, which I thought looked amazing. Is there
Yeah.
any sort of hidden gems that you'd recommend anyone visiting?
I would definitely say Waco. It's so, I know everyone knows Magnolia, like headquarters is there. They have the silos, but there are so many fun small businesses. It's very walkable. Um, yeah, and they have like an area called Cameron Park with tons of hiking and outdoor. It's along the Brazos River. And I would honestly say Waco, which is an hour and a half from Austin. So if you did go to Waco, it's very central Texas. You're an hour and a half from our state capital, and so many good places to eat, that's what I care about.
Sounds a good one. I like that. That sounds brilliant. And Austin always gets so many good write-ups, doesn't it? So, if you can make a day trip from Austin, that'd be fantastic. Last one. Is there anything that you'd like everyone to know about that you're planning, that you have any exciting plans? Obviously, you've got your new store that will be launching soon. Is there anything else that you're excited to release or have in the roadmap soon?
No, I would just say I would encourage people to go follow us on Instagram. I'm the most active there. And visit our store if you're ever in Waco. Our store is going to be retail and an event space. we'll have live shows, live music, special events, etc. So it's a different concept than our Wichita Falls location. So, but different and better, I think. Waco would be the store to visit for sure.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for your time, Catherine. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if all the listeners could just, go and take a look at it for us at Sorted Official on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and rate us, subscribe. And we've got some fantastic guests coming up in the coming weeks. And, hope that it's all really useful to you. And we look forward to seeing you soon. So thanks very much. And it's been a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks for listening to this episode. You can subscribe to the Sorted Indie Retail Sessions podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other platforms. If you fancy joining us as a guest, or you think you know someone you'd like to hear in an upcoming episode, get in touch with us and let us know. We're on all the usual social channels at Sorted Official, or get in touch via email at brand@sorted.com.